Good afternoon, Monica Miller here, Legal Director and Senior Counsel for the American Humanists Association. This is Legal Tuesdays, where I answer your questions about separation of church and state that you've asked for us on our social media platforms. So the first question I will answer is from Beth McClenahan on Facebook, who says, are public high schools allowed to teach intelligent design in science class and at the same time state that evolution is nearly impossible? Emphatically no. That is violative of the First Amendment's Establishment Clause that requires separation of church and state. There was a decision by the U.S. District Court in Pennsylvania, I think in 2005, that issued a very lengthy ruling. It was, I think, the first case that dealt with intelligent design in U.S. district courts or U.S. courts, and concluded in accordance with U.S. Supreme Court precedent that it is illegal and unconstitutional to teach intelligent design in the public school curriculum, and especially in a science class where it's being taught as fact. Schools can teach about religion, such as a world religion class where you're saying, Christians believe this and Muslims believe this, but you can't teach intelligent design. It's junk science. This lengthy ruling made a lot of findings of fact about how intelligent design is junk science. It's religion, it's teaching religion, and it's completely unconstitutional to do that in public schools. There was a U.S. Supreme Court case, Edwards versus Aguilar, I think it was 1987, that had also ruled it wasn't intelligent design, it was creationism, which basically intelligent design is creationism repackaged in a different label. But the Supreme Court struck down a Louisiana statute that had required or authorized schools to teach creationism alongside evolution. So even in that situation, the Supreme Court struck it down, saying that is furthering religion and that therefore violates the First Amendment. The scenario that that Beth described in this question was one where the school is actually denigrating evolution in furtherance of a religious theory. That is completely unconstitutional under Supreme Court precedent as well as other federal court precedent. If you are aware of a school that's doing this, by all means let me know and I will take immediate action, if not a lawsuit, because of how unconstitutional that is. The next question, this is interesting. Johnny Lee Schatz on Facebook says, Monica Miller, this doesn't seem like a question, by the way, but I'm going to answer it. Monica Miller, leave people alone and stop harassing them. Judson High School is a good high school where kids can learn and graduate for the real world. You need to close your pie hole and stop harassing people. So this is in reference to a letter that I sent several weeks back involving a public high school in Texas that had on their marquee for several weeks, the most prominent billboard type of situation in front of the public school, the words "just pray." There was no other message, and that stood there for weeks during the pandemic. It is completely unconstitutional for public schools to promote prayer, to promote religion, and to do so in such a prominent way goes against decades of Supreme Court precedent, goes against decades of Fifth Circuit precedent. So I pointed out those precedents in the letter, which frankly I think would serve as a better civics lesson and prepare kids for the real world should they decide to read the letter than a sign that says "just pray" during a pandemic when that's not going to fix things. So anyway, that's all I have time for today, but I look forward to answering your questions for the next Legal Tuesday segment.